Oh, one more person. Hi, this is Malika Albrecht, and we are here for our Thursday book launch. And I just want to remind people, mute when you're not speaking. I'm going to be pretty strict about this because I really want to turn this over to Margo and Susana. Let me let somebody in on the waiting. That's fabulous. And we're pretty active in our chat section, so feel free to put comments in there. I will make sure that Susana and Margo get copies of that. And I do really want to mention that Susana has put in there where you can order directly if you don't already have the anthology. And so please just, look through from milkandcakepress.com. I Want to Be Loved by You, poems on Marilyn Monroe. So I also have the bios in there, and I'm going to just do a brief bio about Susana H. Case, author of 8 books, and we're going to be celebrating her newest book next month. Isn't that correct? I think I don't have the date in front of me, Susana. Oh, you're muted, so you can unmute.
Yeah, I don't have the date either, but let me check.
I was going to say we will make.
It's in April. Yeah, April 7th.
Thank you, April. And I should have that in my head, but I did not. Margo Taft Stever's 3 full collections of 3 full-length poetry collections. End of Horses. I absolutely love that, and we will be celebrating together with Margo and Susana both their books. So they did this anthology and also 2 new books of poetry. So if you can join us April 7th, we would love that. Karen had, okay, good, Susana, you already answered that question. I will be responsible for paying attention to the chat section, so don't y'all worry about that. And I am going to turn over right now just directly to you, Susana. And I'm trying to think, I would like to put you and Margo together. Margo, I'm going to make you a co-host as well. And give me just a moment. There we go. I'm finding you. And there we go. All right. Thank you all so very much. We're pleased to have so many fabulous poets, so many names that I recognize, and look forward to hearing you read your contributions to this anthology. All right, Susana, turning it over to you.
So thank you. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see so many of you here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, because there are a number of contributors to the anthology who are dead. Margo and I decided we would read some of their poems as well, so you get to hear people who can't speak for themselves. So I'm going to start with one of the what we've been calling the dead poet's poems, and this is a poem by Lynn Lifshin, who wrote a whole volume of poems about Marilyn, as did Heidi Seaborn, who's here tonight. And this is from that volume of her poems, and it's called Marilyn Decides to Go Meet Elvis. She was always good at getting whoever was near her skin, so a swim under the earth's skin for 32 years takes her not too far from Memphis. Some months she just stretched out, listened to tree roots grow, let underground rivers lull her, worms circle her fingers like Peruvian tree rings. No early morning calls, no deadlines, no dawn shoots at the studio. But after 32 years, she wouldn't mind a little rockabilly, maybe hip hop. She might not have the hips and pelvis she used to, but neither must that other glitz and glitter, gut bucket shaker, heartbreaker now. She could be Norma Jean again. They'd get some new digs in Grenada or Harrisburg, let the Mississippi rock and roll them to the sea. So now Margo is going to read a short piece by Sylvia Plath in which she mentions Marilyn, and then we will go to the list of new contributors.
I'm in the great should-be state of Puerto Rico, and you might be able to hear the ocean in the background. I also wanted to say how exciting it is for us to put faces to the wonderful, exciting poems on Marilyn Monroe that Susana and I have read for the last year. Thanks to the poet contributors, the audience for being here, and thanks to Malika King Albrecht for creating and hosting the reading. As a word of background, in Sylvia Plath's piece that I will read, her reference to Eliot has to do with the fact that she and Ted Hughes were scheduled to meet with him soon after this entry. From the Unabridged Journal, Sylvia Plath, Sunday, October 4th, 1959. Marilyn Monroe appeared to me last night in a dream as a kind of fairy godmother, an occasion of chatting with audience much as the occasion with Eliot will turn out, I suppose. I suppose almost in tears of how much she and Arthur Miller meant to us, although they could, of course, not know us at all. She gave me an expert manicure. I had not washed my hair and asked her about hairdressers, saying no matter where I went, they always imposed a horrid cut on me. She invited me to visit her during the Christmas holidays, promising a new, flowering life. Thank you. Now, I think Tina Kelly will read.
Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, but we can't see you.
Oh, my video is on.
Okay,
I can see
no,
myself.
now we can. Yes, no, it's you.
Oh.
Do with the pinning.
I see. It's who's talking. Okay, got it. I was very honored to be part of this anthology. I'm a co-pressling with Margo, and I can imagine how much work it takes to put together an anthology of this caliber. And I so much appreciate your enthusiasm for the topic and the work you put in. I wouldn't have written this poem if it weren't for the anthology, and I love assignments. I'm a reporter. I love deadlines. If there's an assignment that's due at a particular time, I'm always happy to try to do a poem for it. Mine is called Adoptee Fantasy. What if I were the love child of Marilyn Monroe and Jack Kennedy? With my luck, I've inherited his curves and her gravitas. The dates were off only by a month, if you counted 9 months after the tryst at Bing Crosby's pool party in March of '62. She put her masseuse on the phone with the president with the ruined back, so we know they were there together. Imagine the child of the Prince of Camelot and the most advertised girl in the world. Can you picture more toxic fame given the epigenetic legacy of 11 foster homes, schizophrenic mother, and miscarriages, plus the death curse of the Kennedys? Marilyn died before any love child was viable, and the suicide rate in Los Angeles doubled the month after. One New Yorker left a note: if the most wonderful, beautiful thing in the world has nothing to live for, then neither must I. It's better to be related to plain folks and grow up in privacy. Thank you.
So Hoyt is here. Hoyt Rogers.
I just unmuted myself. Here I am, and it's so good to be here with you all this evening. Shall I read? I'm going to read a poem by Frank Baez, who is a Dominican poet. And this is my translation of his poem. It's called The Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I'm 6'4", 2 inches more when I wear high heels. I have a beauty spot on my butt. I date poets from the 80s. I date handymen, security guards, models, engineers, visual artists, weightlifters, lawyers, white boys, paper pushers, heavy hitters, car valets. I'm a regular at the bingo parlor, the woman who puts leaves of grass in her pocketbook and gets lost in space. The woman who drinks coffee at bus stops, the man-eater, the pythoness, the mega poet, the woman who cries when the movie ends and nobody gives her a hug. I'm a menstruating monster, the woman who sits in the dance joints and drinks, who ties one on and makes the whores look disgusted and burns their miniskirts with cigarettes when they go by. The woman who wanted to kidnap Anthony Rios, the woman who injects hormones in her legs. I'm La Chicholina. I'm Tiresias, the woman who rides buck naked, that big boned woman who's multiplied by the motel mirrors when they do her doggy style. The woman who sits in the back pew of the church with a black eye. Miss Boca Chica, 1994. That woman who smokes on the ocean boulevard, watching the ships with their lights turned on. The second semester nursing student. The white girl who drives ambulances, city buses, passenger vans, trailer trucks. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. No, that thing was still there. I hadn't chopped it off. I didn't have the money to do it with. So one day I thought, I'm going to do readings to raise the money and have that operation. I called all my poet friends on the telephone. I remember how they passed a basket around like they do at masses. And there I was, standing on the stage, the pure tea Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo, reading my verses and grateful for the applause. Thank you, poet friends. Thank you, Mr. Minister of Culture. Thank you very much. A mob follows me with rocks. They stone me in the Maya. They stone me at the car wash in San Isidro, the ones in Los Mameyes, the Charles, and the Villa Maya. Behind Quisqueya Stadium, they beat me, humiliate me, shout at me. They give me a thrashing. They pile on top of me one by one. I've lost myself. I'm no longer here. I repeat, I've lost myself. I don't know how to find myself. I go to the 4 cardinal points, looking for myself in a procession with all the women I've been, and those that I'll be, and those that I can't be. I sleep in hospital beds, guest houses, motels, parks. I take showers, lots of showers. The dye runs down my face and down my makeup. I feel like I'm coming apart, and pieces of me keep falling one by one, taking the shower water with them. The water keeps falling and taking me with it down to the drain. Here I am on the rear of a 70 motorbike, dancing with 3 men on a patio, walking on a busted high heel, massaging Italian tourists, sitting on my suitcase at an intersection, trying to hitch a ride. 2 guys in a Toyota pull up. The one who's driving asked me, "Hey, white girl, where you going, babe?" And I answered, "Going to LA, all the way down to LA. You know, Los Alcarrizos." They lead me 13 kilometers further on. I walk to the other side of the road and they hang around looking at me till on this side, a Leche Rica milk truck stops and I climb in. Here, I open a parenthesis to advise you, you need to get an AIDS test. I do one every year. They give it to you in a week at most, 180 pesos near the WAST. I go with divorced guys, widowers, atheists, priests, art critics, psychoanalysts, ex-suicides, salsa lovers, scooter drivers, Haitians, Protestant pastors, clowns, the terminally ill, schizos, broke boxers. I wake up in Puerto Plata. I have visions in Asua. I see the Pope dancing salsa. I see igloos in Haina and Tres Brazos, Eskimos in mom and pop stores, penguins in Mao, St. Augustine with eyelashes like Charitin, UFOs abducting senators and congressmen. There's a country in the world placed in the sun's very path. There's in the world a very country placed in the sun's path. There's the sun's very path placed in a country in the world. There's a sunspot in the very world placed in a country. I traveled to New York with a fake passport. Marilyn Monroe, walking down Fifth Avenue again. Marilyn Monroe with a 3-day beard. I have breakfast at Tiffany's. I drink champagne in limousines. I run for my life in Corona. I play the accordion at a corner. I fight in Soho. I cry in front of the Hudson. I give a reading at the New Yorican Cafe. Rhymesters, poets, and rappers toss me sprays of flowers. I sign autographs. I spread kisses all around. Suddenly the doors bust wide open. The INS guys put me in handcuffs. They push me, and meanwhile the audience boos them and throws bottles. Shots are heard. They deport me. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I get a wax job all over. Powder myself. Do my makeup. Put on a fur coat. Ready for my next reading. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. I'm the Marilyn Monroe of Santo Domingo. What's a girl to do? I clap for Frank Baez. Thank you.
Thank you, Hoyt. That's a Frank Baez poem translated by Hoyt Rogers, and John J. Trouse is next.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Very good. So for all of you audience members, remember to get your copy of the anthology. The information is in the chat box. So my piece in the anthology, which is really beautiful. It's an amazing thing. I just finished reading it earlier this week, reading the whole thing. My piece is called My Marilyn, a triptych. And so it is in 3 parts. Marilyn Mosaic. During the dangerous years, scudda-hoo, scudda-hey, our gal joined the ladies of the chorus, love happy, and took a ticket to Tomahawk, tick-tock around the clock, and ended up not on the range, but in the Asphalt Jungle, where she learned all about Eve, the fireball. Taking a right cross, she found herself in her hometown, story goes, and felt as young as you feel in such circumstances. Finding a love nest, but let's make it legal. She got hitched. A clash by night, and sighed, but we're not married, so don't bother to knock. Monkey business ensued in O. Henry's full house at Niagara, where gentlemen prefer blondes, and she yearned to marry a millionaire beyond that river of no return, and learned instead that there's no business like show business, but it's no business of ours that she got the 7-year itch and got to the bus stop and plopped in on the prince and the showgirl. Well, some like it hot, and so she cooed, let's make love, among the misfits. But something's got to give. And it did. Saint Marilyn Chrysotrica, the golden icon. This, the most famous devotional image of Saint Marilyn Chrysotrica, of the golden hair in Greek, attributed to the renowned painter Andreas Varholas, Floruit 8th century, survived the iconoclastic controversy in Byzantium, but barely, and was called the golden icon throughout the ages, per secula seculorum. Saint Marilyn is now revered by sex symbols as their patron saint. The beauty mark, from the French mouche, fly, represents Satan, lord of the flies, Beelzebub in Hebrew, and refers to the legendary visitation by the devil in the form of the fly to the face of Saint Marilyn. The devil tries to corrupt her soul by corrupting the beauty of her face, but Saint Marilyn pays it no heed and becomes even more beautiful spiritually and physically thereafter. Per secula seculorum. Marilyn framed. One had named her, but many framed her in memory and art. For playing her part, many shamed her and gamed her and tamed her, but not really. She got hitched and ditched 3 times, or did the ditching, before the 7-year itch. On stage and on page, in the flickering light of film and on canvas, she shines and fades and shines again and again. Amen. Thank you very much.
Oops. Skeleton woman. I would have liked to have told you, make it past this 36. There will be 40, 46, 50. There you'll find your own name. Call yourself crone and it will mean full moon's light spilling over snow-cast limbs. Look into your mirror and name yourself Hecate, guardian of your own crossroads, protector, coyote, wolf, jaguar, mulching the past until it is fertility and magic. You will name yourself Oracle, shed Marilyn, shed Monroe. You'll come to know men are terrified of the wise woman. They are not leaving you. They are afraid of you. Love is not a flirtation. It is the dominant nerve of perseverance. Skeleton woman, flutter, falter, flutter. Come to see the divorce, the shaming, not as startling as castigation. They just are. Before we meet ourselves, we mistake lust for love, fish frantically for fantasies. You knew lonely because you had not found your untangler yet. Fishermen called you haunted inlet to hide their fear. But love looks upon tangled bones and says, now I am free. From the chore of hunting, I have found my feast. Love sings softly, letting damp lullaby breath warm bare bones. Untangles the trapped from the fisherman's nets. Exhausted falls to dreams by the fire. And the untangled thrums the drum of the other's heart until naked bones wear flesh, breast and womb plump again. Until 2 bodies warm one another skin to skin, wait to feed each other for all days. And thank you for letting me be part of the anthology. I'm in such beautiful, amazing company. It was good to be here.
Okay, hi everyone. It's great to be part of this anthology. Thank you, Margo and Susana and everyone. I'm excited to be in this with you. My poem is called Moxie. After achieving sex icon status as the girl in the 7-year itch, Marilyn Monroe set out on a 2-year quest. Frustrated with studio constraints, tired and depressed by grade B movie scripts and bimbo blonde roles, Marilyn defied report to work orders, donned a black wig and dark glasses, and under the pseudonym of Zelda Zane, flew to New York. And then something no other woman star except Mary Pickford had done. With a friend's financial backing, she started her own production company, Marilyn Monroe Studio, an action now called instrumental in the collapse of the restrictive studio system. Ignoring threats, insults, and lawsuits, Marilyn spent the next few years attending Broadway plays, visiting museums, going to poetry readings, joining the Actors Studio and reading extensively, seeking strong women characters to play. Arthur Miller courted her. Director Josh Logan wanted her for Bus Stop, and her studio surrendered. Marilyn got all her demands, including creative control. The victory was proclaimed one of the greatest single triumphs ever won by an actress.
Barbara Goldberg is next.
Hi, thank you again to everyone for being here and for being in this anthology, even though I'm not a Marilyn fan. I'm going to confess that right now. My poem, nevertheless, is called Marilyn. Had it been me, I never would have chosen her. Too blonde, too white, too drop-dead gorgeous. Not to mention her voice, breathy and hesitant. I guess some men like that. Luckily for Marilyn, I'm not a man. Now, take Audrey Hepburn, petite, spiked bangs, French twist, her taste for wit, someone I could grow into. So many girls like to make themselves stupid or lose on purpose, like this girl in college, also blonde, also stacked. She could spin 1,000 angels on the head of a pin, but at parties, she'd drink too much and act dumb. The boys, she said, ate it up. I wouldn't even want a guy like that, who wouldn't know how to spar or crack a joke, who'd simply ache to dive headfirst into her décolletage and sleep in the pillowy softness of her flesh. I preferred those who hoarded secrets, little treasures buried like truffles deep in the underbelly of the earth. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alexis Roan Fancher. I'm here in Los Angeles. The poem I wrote is At 18, I Long to Be a Marilyn. And you know how they ask you at poetry readings if that really happened? This really happened. So, at 18, I longed to be a Marilyn. When I wanted to be seen, when I danced out to the edge, when I was so afraid to love, when I longed to be a Marilyn, when I slept my way to the top, when I opened up my legs, but not my heart, when I shouted at my mother over dinner, when I grow up, I'll be somebody, not like you. And when I took a lover twice my age, when I told him I wanted photos wearing only my grandmother's ruby necklace, when he shot me butt naked on my mother's oriental rug, when I went home to flaunt the affair, when I fluttered a cache of the photos onto her bed, when she walked to her closet and opened the bottom drawer, when she handed me a large blue envelope, when I looked at photos of my mother naked, her young face wicked, movie star dreamy, when I recognized the girl who wore only a ruby necklace and looked like she had plans even bigger than mine, when she said, I was only 16, he was 40. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Carrigon. Thank you. Thank you, Susana. Thank you, Margo. It's a fantastic reading tonight. Beautiful book. Thanks again. Bookworm Goddess. You sang happy birthday to Kennedy, and everyone loved you, or did they? Platinum blonde enchantress, bookworm goddess who wanted to blow out the universe. We were never told your true story when they programmed us to be sexy, play dull designated characters, never the in-between or outside roles, never to be thinkers, questioners, cerebral rebels with pencil, pen, or keyboard. You found yourself on bookshelves, scribbled poems with Joyce, Proust, Hemingway. Your normal gene face writhed in conflict. And who were we to critique when beauty had roots in imperfection and judgmental eyes saw what they wanted to see, never in agreement. But we never noticed that back then. Only a platinum blonde enchantress whose alleged suicide ended dilemma. The pill bottle's silence left us guessing. Too many still thrive on gossip. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joel Allegretti. My poem is on page 25 if you're reading along. I want to thank Susana and Margo for including me in this wonderful book. I've spent several nights enjoying it, and it hit me that, and I said this to Susana on Facebook, that with the large format and paper stock, it has the look of a fashion magazine. Amateur night at Giselle's attic. Bête Noire does Marilyn Monroe. Bette is spelled B-E-T-T-E. The patrons fill 16 out of 60 seats. I'm following Lady Bayleaf doing Liza as Sally Bowles. And when I lip sync, my heart belongs to daddy after a daiquiri or three. I picture a sugar daddy of my very own, waiting for me in the lounge of a 4-star hotel in this brassy city. And okay, maybe I look more like Baby Jane than Norma Jean, but until the wig is back in the box and the satin dress is in the closet for the night, I can forget I'm old enough to be that daddy's daddy. Thank you.
Dewad Phillip is next.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me first to add to the voices with Marilyn Monroe at heart. And I wanted to just say that San Fernando is referenced in the poem, and I'm reading it from San Fernando in Trinidad. And so it's also dedicated to Merle Beckles. She's 89, and she's one of the people in the poem, and to Bon Leonard, the milliner in Harlem. So the poem is The Milliner's Hats. I used to have a childhood friend, a Jewish boy named Norman. He came from a family of milliners who fled Germany to end up living on my block in San Fernando. His quiet mother with a soft smile, father who said less, and an uncle with whom his dad ran the millinery. Women stitchers from the lane would cross the promenade and go briskly down to the arcade where hats were made and sold to major stores, fashioned in fancy styles seen in newsreels that ran with a feature. A woman with Marilyn Monroe lips waiting on a train, wearing one, his uncle leaning over a banister in his hat that made him look like George Raft. An only child, Norman favored that uncle who stood at the top of the stairs one afternoon in the 1960s, holding up the headline of the evening news, Eichmann captured, nabbed in Argentina. When I saw the face of the man in the story, I felt Norman's uncle with the George Raft hat could easily star as Eichmann himself, the beast from whom the family fled. If a movie were made, if the real George Raft were dropping off a wrapped fish as a favor for a pal, or spinning a woman with curves like Marilyn Monroe in a bolero, my friend was allowed no friend but me to wear the feather of fealty in our games, the depth of the well in his uncle's eyes, the news like a slab of stone over his head. Thank you very much.
So Bill isn't here, so our next reader will be Ann Harding Woodworth.
Hello, everybody. This is wonderful. Thank you, Susana and Margo. My Marilyn, I think somehow, well, I got her into a convent, and somehow she may be on her way to John Trouse's St. Marilyn, I don't know. Marilyn Monroe in a Potato Sack, 1952. It must have been rough. It must have felt rough, that burlap, like a hair shirt, scratchy and punishing, though I doubt she thought of sin or human frailty. But the potato sack, it must have scraped her front and back, left her bosoms, spine, and buttocks welted, bloody red, as if she used a cat o' nine tails on herself at the convent, late at night when all the other sisters slept, or maybe snuck a look at the good book, or maybe at the bad magazine, or maybe both alternately, and alternately asking Father for forgiveness and stopping at a photo of Marilyn in a potato sack, struck with how good she did look, to the point they thought about her all the next day, especially in the pantry when they reached their hands into the burlap bag and pulled out some dirty brown dusty Idahos and began to peel them skinless right down to their smooth, slippery innards. Thank you.
Imogene is next, but I noticed that Bill Moore just entered the room. So Bill, if you want to read your poem,
good.
We're waiting for you.
Could I have a few more? I just left a meeting on campus is what happened. So could you call on me in a few minutes by any chance?
We'll do that. We'll catch you
Thank you.
later. So Imogen, or I'm sorry, I messed up your name. Could you tell us pronunciation of your name, Imogen?
Sure. It's Imogen A-Rate. Can you all hear me okay? Yes, I see Susana. Thank you, Susana and Margo, for organizing both the anthology and also the readings. So my poem is on page 77. It's called All About Eve. In the asphalt jungle town, where gentlemen prefer blondes, a monkey business with a daily fare, though advertised as no business, like show business, in making the misfits a hometown story, channeling the fireball of ambition to give ladies of the chorus a chance at the prince and the showgirl. The glass slippers molded from the glass ceiling, carrying you from the bus stop to the river of no return in a current with the strength of the Niagara in 36 short years. As young as you felt, perhaps you whistled Scooter-hoo, Scooter-hey, hoping the limelight would offer a warm love happy or a neglected heart or a crack at the bat to marry a millionaire, though never arriving at the 7-year itch, as some like it hot led to some things got to give in less than a year of nuptial pretense. Torn asunder by paparazzi who didn't bother to knock before crowding to disrupt your honeymoon's bliss in PR schemes that stretch a 2-person love nest to fit O. Henry's full house, bursting the seam of a pair bond. A right cross that punched through let's make love from let's make illegal, ignited by emerald fire to clash by night before the newlyweds could buy a ticket to Tomahawk or reach the green grass of Wyoming. Maybe the third failed attempt turned you toward more dangerous years, where "we're not married" became safe words instead of "you were meant for me."
So I think I'm up next. Imogen, that was wonderful. And I have to say, this is such a treat to be surrounded by all these creative and powerful and surprising Marilyn poems. And thank you, Margo and Susana, for creating this anthology and bringing all of us together. So as Susana mentioned, I have written a whole book of Marilyn poems. It came out last June. It's called Insomniac Slumber Party with Marilyn Monroe. And so it's really a delight to hear other people's takes on some of the same subjects that I've tackled in this book. But the poem that is in the anthology is called 4 Days at Payne Whitney Psychiatric Clinic, 1961. And it's based on her stay at the Payne Whitney Psychiatric Clinic. And she was committed by one of her psychiatrists, Dr. Chris. And she wrote this very powerful letter to her other psychiatrist, Dr. Greenson. And based on that letter, I wrote this poem, and it pulls a lot of lines directly out of the letter. 4 days at Payne Whitney Psychiatric Clinic, 1961. I scrape my body off the scrawled walls, pinwheel on a stone bed, carve my lines into the steel desk. Very, very sick girl, hold that thought. Phone gone, I call no one, call Joe for old time's sake. Very, very dark place, hold that thought. Each act an act, a line spoken, a rule broken, a small token from last year's movie. Sometimes I wonder what the nighttime is for. Cut, a girl said. She said she cut, I called cut, the scene cut into lines across the window, cut me in lines, open that window. Men are climbing to the moon, but they don't seem interested in the beating heart. Hold that thought. Thank you.
Okay, that was beautiful. I think I'm next, right, Susana? Okay, I just want to thank Margo Stever and Susana Case for editing this anthology. Two incredibly powerful, inspiring, brilliant women. I'm so honored to know you. And I've, really, I'm just so happy to be here. So many of you, I see like friends going back 30 plus years in here, and a lot of people I don't know, and some people I just know on Facebook, and others, I've known since I was young. So, okay. So my poem, I'm going to read it now. My poem is called Cocktail Dress Commands Millions and Auction. Her dress taunted the camera with refracted light, but it wasn't the galaxy of crystals and rhinestones that garnered 5 million at auction. It was the gauzy beige fabric between them, meant to be read as skin. It was a costume designer's narrow fingers pulling a needle that closed a seam and grazed the womanly belly, the undercurve of breasts, as she stood very still, shrink-wrapped in silk. It was her tiny, mincing steps to the mic, quick, apologetic, late, and the white ermine coat dropped like canvas from a billboard, the tantalizing reveal. It was thousands cheering, leering in Madison Square Garden. It was the grainy news photo a few months later, her body rolled out on a stretcher, and the dress compelled to live forever, shimmering on a mannequin, headless, no arms or feet, propped in a plexiglass case in Ripley's Auditorium, St. Augustine, Florida, a city famous for its masonry fort, a military prison for the Seminole and Apache who made art on the brick walls of their cells, leaving a record of what really happened. Thank you.
Yes, I would also like to thank Margo and Susana for creating this wonderful fashion magazine, as somebody called it. I think that's a really interesting point. I haven't seen the book yet, and my poem has been published a number of times in other publications, including my latest book, How We Hold On. And it's called Against the Wall. Against the Wall for Marilyn, Norma Jean, or at Calvert and Connecticut, she watches. All I remember is her face, larger than a window flung open in spring, that face floating above brick, mortar, and cement. Her bleached hair expands the white of her eyes, eyes that steal light from the passers-by. Rumor says she shared lipstick with my mother as they strolled arm in arm down a runway lined with impatient men, each holding out his will. At Calvert and Connecticut, she beckons. What will you do? She whispers with petulant lips. Mom, I shout from a cafe where drinking wine with the friends. I glimpse the beauty pageant of pliant skin and curving body receding down the avenue. With a playful skip, she remains a child. That child, Arthur Miller says, whose spirit we cannot chase. Best to rest in place and let her return with love. At Calvert and Connecticut, I'll see her there, up against the wall. Thank you.
The title of my poem, oh, I wanted to say first, thank you so much, Susana and Margo, for the book and for this event. The title of my poem is the title of a painting by Rosalind Drexler, Marilyn Pursued by Death. 1. Death's almost bald, in sunglasses and sneakers. Could be a thug, a bodyguard, a stalker. He and she match, white blouse, black skirt, white shirt, black pants. He's coming up behind her. She's fleeing toward the painting's southeast corner. 2. Those overlord voices, the kisses too. the hairs on a lover's insistent face that make me sore, that scrape me. As soon as they've had me, the paparazzi, the honorary uncles, I see in their eyes how I fade. Why do they always stop loving? What is it that I need to do or be? 3. Marilyn, is it you in the night visitor's painting, all stretched out on a bright green flower print chair? Across the room, an opening. It's black, like sliding doors that slid when someone bribed them. Outside on a serpentine path, 4 hatchet men approach you. Baby, they chant. Baby, we won't hurt you. Baby, it's all right. Thanks.
So Margo and I want to unmute now and finish up with a couple more dead poet poems. And we want to thank all of you for being here and for reading, and Malika for hosting us. Thank you so much. And what I'm going to read now is a poem by Alan Jenkins, a British poet, called Marilyn and You. From one of her sky-high heels, Marilyn would lop off 1/4 of an inch, a horseshoe in miniature, so that she could toe the line the more unsteadily between insanity and lunch, or walk a high-tension wire she could never see the end of. They always gave her too much or too little rope. She went skeetering, all ass wiggles, hip swayings, thigh jiggles, down a shocking slope to the bed where they found her jackknifed. Photographs would have her looking well dressed in black high heels and not much else. You wear yours to parties, that little lift, and look unsteady only when you're drunk or bored or off balance. You've never used them to pin any part of a man to the floor or stamp a military tattoo on his chest. I've seen them flung anyhow in the cupboard among the bras and pants and given them a second glance. I've watched you, after half a mile, totter and almost fall. Go barefoot rather than. And I just realized, Bill, that we forgot about you. So we'll have you read now and then have Margo conclude.
Oh, that's okay, Susanna. I can read another time.
Well, you're on, so read.
Okay. Labials for Marilyn Monroe. Letters pronounced by lips. M, P, B. Your name bounces a pair of M's, a hum of men at movies. Your pictures clipped from magazines billow like frothing clouds before a clump of a storm. The wretchedness of beauty is they only notice you and not what your eyes linger on, an amethyst glass knob at the end of a gear shift. Your masseuse fingers your chin. She's seen 1,000 figures spray up from behind, legs arching into waist and shoulders, but when they spin around, each face withers faster than chrysanthemums in a tall vase. Your glow promises what any woman adored wants to promise only once. On a hot summer night, a boat's anchored to a bobbing slosh. A reclining man knows which line was meant for Marilyn. I don't feel anything anymore. Isn't that what a woman says when she yearns to be stunned? Love should be perfect, but no one is until the heart you've won is your own.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. That was wonderful reading, and thank you to everyone for this incredible reading tonight and for your poems. And it's just been such a great experience for Susanna and me to have the opportunity to work on this anthology. I'm going to read a poem by one of the great poets of Scotland who died in 2010, Edwin Morgan. The Death of Marilyn Monroe. What innocence, whose guilt, what eyes, whose breast? Crumpled orphan, Neanderthal bed, white hearse, Los Angeles. DiMaggio, Los Angeles. Miller, Los Angeles, America. That death should seem the only protector, that all arms should have faded and the great cameras and lights become an inquisition and a torment. That the many acquaintances, the many autograph hunters, the inflexible directors, the drive-in admirers should become a blur of incomprehension and pain. That lonely uncertainty should limp up grinning with bewildering barbiturates and watch her undress and lie down and in her anguish call for him to strengthen her with what could only dissolve her, a method of dying. We are shaken, we see it, Strasbourg, Los Angeles, Olivier, Los Angeles, others die, and yet by this death, we are a little shaken, we feel it, America. Let no one say communication is a cant word. They had to lift her hand from the bedside telephone, but what she had not been able to say, perhaps she had said, quote, all I had was my life. I have no regrets because if I made any mistakes, I was responsible. There is now and there is a future. What has happened is behind, so it follows you around. So what? This to a friend 10 days before. And so she was responsible. And if she was not responsible, not wholly responsible, Los Angeles, will it follow you around? Will the slow white hearse of the child of America follow you around? Thank you. Thanks, Erin. We should maybe, Susanna, we could have a little time for people to talk to each other. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. I think we can try having everyone unmute and see what happens.
I think it's a great idea. And I just have to say, that was stunning. I am speechless. Y'all are amazing. I mean, just amazing. And you know, a couple people wrote things that were perfect. Cindy said she learned so much about Marilyn Monroe. I love this other thing. Let's see if I can get to it in the chat. Anne said, I'm struck with the kindness, love, empathy that these poems show for Marilyn. Truly beautiful. Thanks everyone for being here and letting us hear your voices. The range was amazing. So people feel free to unmute.
So I'm sorry I did not do much in the chat, but it was hard to keep the order going, listen and everything. But I appreciate all of the work that I heard today. It was really wonderful. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you read, and I'm grateful to the people in the anthology who contributed but didn't read to that tonight.
And I will send the chat section to both you and Margo, and you can hand it out to the poet so they can see. A lot of people were writing down lines that struck them, and I want every poet to see that, just how much your poems were appreciated and what we were responding to.
Well, I hope everyone also knows that they will receive a copy of the anthology if they don't already have one. So just also, we hope that everyone, just want to make sure that everyone knows that the proceeds go to RAINN, R-A-I-N-N, which is an organization that fights sexual violence. So you're not embellishing our vacation fund when you buy a book, and we hope you do buy it for all your Valentines and all your Christmas presents and all your birthday presents, so think of it as a present anyway, for a good cause.
Yeah, the rape, abuse, and incest network is key for survivors, and they have 24-hour chat available online and also fund a lot of resources. So That's awesome. I did not know y'all were doing that. Thank you.
It's the publisher is not profiting either from the sale of the anthologies.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Okay, and Cindy, what you wrote here, the name Milk and Cake makes me drool.
An interesting press. You might want to look into it. They do unusual publications.
That's wonderful.
I've
Thank you.
sent some of my clients to you, Margo. I have I'm a copy editor, and I looked for publishers for them, and I've sent some to you.
Oh, to
So you
Slapping Hot
better
Press?
publish one.
Okay, definitely. It's all anonymous, but we'll try.
Yeah, I told them not to mention my name.
So I did like that. I think it was Joel or somebody pointed out that the book itself looked like a magazine, and then Margo, you put down that was the publisher's choice, but I think it was a fabulous choice.
It was. A number of the poems had very long lines, and so it was a choice. It wasn't so much a choice to create a fashion magazine, so much as to try to preserve the integrity of the poet's lines.
Fabulous. Does anybody have any questions, or do we just want to hear a round of applause? Because that's one of the things I think is hard, that you can see us going like this, but you can't hear us. And so for everyone who read, for Susana and Margo for creating this, for everybody who is present and here and enjoying this space and creating community, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This will be up on YouTube, and I'll send out the link. If you want to send people who were unable to be here today, you can send them the link.
Great.
There is also a lot of other readings coming up that we haven't, I don't think, Susana, where are you, Susana? I don't think we've announced, oh, good. We haven't announced them all, but we will be. And
yeah, we'll be announcing on Facebook, and we'll be sending out additional sign-up sheets. We haven't signed up for all of them yet. We've just been doing a few at a time.
Well, you guys are doing an amazing job of getting it out there and creating community around it. It's wonderful.
Thank you for your book.
Really
too.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, you two are a dynamic duo. I hope y'all do another project together.
We're doing Slapping Hole Press too with Mervyn Taylor, so we're doing more than one.
Good. That's awesome. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
The world is crying out for an anthology of poetry on John Waters.
Joel, you have experience doing anthologies, so.
Rabbit ears.
My godkids are very fond of John Waters' summer camp. So yes, that would go well.
He has a summer camp?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Well, reach out to me and I'll give you info.
You learn a lot coming to this
reading. As a counselor, Joel.
What was that?
Maybe you could be a camp counselor.
Yeah. I'm exactly what he wants.
Emphasis on the word camp.
Yes.
Yes.
So there was a diner on 14th Street called Good Stuff between 7th and 8th Avenues in New York. And I saw him there a couple of times.
Wow. Hairspray.
I've met him several times too. Very gentle.
Good heart.
Yeah, he's cool.
Well, guys, you all have been fabulous. May you be well. I hope to see you when we have the dual book launch with Margo and Susana. Well, it'll be another fabulous evening of wonderful poetry. Readers, y'all were just stunning, just stunning. Thank you so very much. All right.
Yes,
Good
thank
night,
you.
be well.
Good night.
Thank you again.
Hello, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.